Hi everybody, this is Eugene O'Loughlin, lecturer in computing at the National College of Ireland, and welcome to my series of short how-to videos. In this video we're going to learn how to calculate the factorial of a number in Excel 2010. So before we do the calculations, let's remind ourselves of what the factorial of a number is. Factorial functions are very useful in computing the number of combinations that can be constructed from a set of objects. In other words, how many different selections can be made when sampling a population. So it's a common tool used in sampling. The factorial of a number, n, is the product of all the positive integers less than or equal to n. And we usually denote this as n exclamation mark. And so, for example, the factorial of the number 5, that's written as 5 exclamation mark, is equal to 5 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1. In other words, a product of all the positive integers less than or equal to 5. And if we do that multiplication, we get an answer of 120. So the factorial of the number 5 has a value of 120. There's a couple of ways we can do this calculation in Excel. Let's look at the slow, long-winded way of doing this first. I'm going to put in cell B3 here the number 5. And I want to, in cell C3 beside this, put the factorial of that number. So following the example on the right-hand side here, I can just put in simply equals 5 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1, and press enter, and our result is 120 as we would expect. So that's an awkward enough way of doing it, putting in actual values. Let's try now and put in some cell referencing here. So I've got 5 over here. I'm going to put 4, 3, 2, 1. So all the positive integers are now listed over here on the left hand side, and in cell C8 here I could put in a formula using cell referencing. So put in equals B3 multiplied by B4 multiplied by B5 multiplied by B6 and finally multiplied by B7. Press enter, and we get a factorial again of 5 equal to a value of 120. We can see that it's actually quite awkward to calculate factorial of a number, even if that number is very, very small, using this method. And a much better way of doing this is to use Excel's own factorial function. So I'm switching to another worksheet here. And the factorial formula that Excel provides for calculating the factorial of a number is the fact function, F-A-C-T. And the syntax is quite simple. We say equals fact, and then in brackets the number or cell reference of the number that we want to calculate the factorial of. So over here on my left hand side I've got a range of numbers here, and supposing I want to calculate the factorial of the number 20. So in here I can type in the formula, but for the moment I'm going to choose the formulas ribbon across the top here. And in the function library, the factorial is not listed, but it is a math and trig function, so I'm going to select the down arrow here for that option. And this gives me all the maths and trigs functions that are in Excel. And down here in the middle is the fact function, and this will return the factorial for a particular number. So I'm going to select that. You can see here in the background that Excel has inserted the equals fact and in empty brackets. And here in the functions arguments window, it's looking for the number or the cell reference to the number that I want to calculate the factorial of. So the first one I want to calculate the factorial of is of the number 20 here. I'm going to use the cell reference, which when I click on it is B3. That puts it into the function arguments window, and I'm going to click OK. So we can see that the factorial of the number 20 is 2.43229 by 10 to the power of 18. And if I want to calculate the factorial for all the other numbers here, I can just use Excel's autofill tool to copy the fact function or formula down to all the other values until I get down to the very, very end here. We can see the factorial of 0 is always 1. Then the number gets smaller as far as the smaller numbers go. If we want to see how big those numbers are up there, we can just do one final change. Select all the numbers, right click, choose format cells, and in the number tab here, select number. I'm going to reduce the decimal places down to 0 and add in the comma separator. Click OK, and that just shows me how big some of those numbers are. So the factorial of 20 is 2 trillion billion up here at the top, right down to a value of 1 for a factorial of the number 0. So that's how you calculate the factorial of a number in Excel 2010. I hope you found this video useful. Thank you for your attention.